Tell John what you think on Twitter at TalkToMeRadioUK. And remember, that's the number 2 in Talk To Me Radio UK.
Pod number 2 might be a bit shorter than pod number 1. I do apologise. We got so into the subjects, we kind of let time run away with us. What great guests, though. Fantastic guests. Ex-boss of the CIA, and then, of course, we had Douglas Murray, who I know you enjoy. And we had some good callers there as well, didn't we, in that first hour of the show. We're talking about the programme. I do feel a bit awkward talking about it because I haven't actually watched it. But because I'm here in the States at the moment, in Washington, D.C. But your views on this programme, Three Girls, which seems to be making the whole nation talk at the moment, your views on that. We're asking about that today. Should it be shown in schools? I'm saying that's... In fact, the more I say it, the more I think that it is being used as a kind of an illusion, a bit of smoke and mirrors going on here. We actually need to have the debate about why Muslim guys think women are trash, white women. We actually need to have that in the open without being shouted down as racist. Because if this was white guys doing this predominantly, you can sure as bet the Sunday Times and the Observer and the Guardian would have pull-out segments on it. Can't you? Also, I'm asking you, is it worth voting if Theresa May is going to win a landslide? I think I'm moving to, well, I don't think I know. I'm moving to a position where I'm not going to vote. I don't want her to have a massive landslide. I think it'll be bad. I wish Jeremy Corbyn got his act together. I wish also the media took Jeremy Corbyn a bit more seriously, because some of his policies I like. Student loans, student grants, good idea. I like his idea on renationalising the trains. I like his idea on gas and electricity and water. I think they're all positive things. Whether they can be put into action, I'm not sure, but they need to be discussed. And in a proper open democracy, that's what would happen. But it's not what's going to happen. It's not what's going to happen. And UKIP, I wish Farage had stayed around. I know it's hindsight, and I'm not having a go at him, but I think UKIP would be in a better position as well to provide some alternative. As it is, I think she's going to get a landslide, and we're going to get boring, mediocre policies. And I don't want to live in that kind of country. We're going to get that kind of uniform. Ooh, I call it vanilla. I don't want vanilla. What about you? 88% of you say, yes, you must always vote, Gaunty. 12% say no. Nearly 400 votes. Take part if you can. That is on Twitter. Right, let's see if we can move back for a moment to Three Girls. Because whilst UKIP and the UK political establishment have been pussyfooting around the Islamic question, Austria today has become the latest country in Europe to ban the use of face veils and the distribution of the Quran. If Austria can manage to do this, why is this country so scared of tackling this issue head on? Joining me now to talk about Austria, as well as also the second part of the BBC's Three Girls drama, is Anne-Marie Waters, Director of Sharia Watch UK. Hi, Anne-Marie.
Hi, how are you?
Not too bad. It'll be a few years before we're celebrating the banning of the veil or the burqa or the Quran in this country. But what do you make of Austria taking this move?
Good. Always happy when someone bans the burqa. We are sadly still very far away from it, I fear. I didn't know they had banned distribution of the Quran. What's that?
Yeah, the distribution of the Saudi version of the Quran. That's what we're being told. I'll check that in a moment with my researchers back. If you can give me some more information on that, Anthony, in a moment, that would be good. But let's go back to the banning of the veil. You still think that's the thing to do you?
Of course. It has to be. For the long term and for the short term, when we have every reason to. Security is the main reason, and it's our main legal and moral reason for it. But for the longer term and the wider future of girls and women's rights, it has to go. It has to go at some point, and I reckon the sooner the better. Because it's, and I think it will go eventually. More and more European countries will ban it. I don't know what we'll do, though. We'll see.
It's about having that debate. I mean, you yourself, you wanted to stand as a UKIP candidate, and even though the leader of that political party says he wants to ban it, he felt you were too hot to handle. So it seems as if there's still a reluctance to discuss this in so-called polite political circles.
Well, there is. I mean, it's just the avoidance of the religion. We do absolutely everything we can to avoid this religion. And, it is about integration, so the argument for integration is valid. But it's not enough, and there's so much more. There's so many reasons to ban this thing. It's a complete separation of one group, a different set of rules set to them, and a supremacist one. Because when it clashes, because the majority want it banned, and the majority is clashing with a minority religion, and the minority religion is winning, and there's something wrong there. It's not as if we're, aiming to take away some fundamental civil right. It's not a fundamental right to wear a face veil in public. But I would say it's a much greater right for us to be able to identify people in public. Our rights matter as well.
Well, of course, the counter-argument, and I've had that argument on TV and radio with women who are wearing the veil, is that it's surely in a tolerant country, it's their democratic right to wear what they wish in the street.
It's not about wearing what they wish, though. It's about disguising themselves. It's about us not being able to see them. It's about them separating themselves by demanding different rules apply. We can't. It's an example that's used all the time, but it's true. We can't walk in to banks and through airports with balaclavas or other concealments over our faces, but they can. There's something wrong here, and it shouldn't be. We should all be obliged to live according to the same rules. This is supremacy.
Okay, just going back to that question you raised about the Quran, we've just looked into that for you, and yes, distributing the Quran has been outlawed in Austria.
Oh, well, I'd be interested to see how that works in practice. I'll have to look into that one.
I would imagine it'd be pretty difficult, wouldn't you?
I would imagine it too, yeah. Okay. But it's just some real detail on that one.
Right, talk to me about Three Girls. Have you managed to catch any of it yet on the BBC?
Yes, I have watched it. It's no fun. It's, frankly, it's exhausting to watch because it's happening now. The incompetence was portrayed quite well, I thought. The sort of inertia of all these authorities. It's strategy plans which never come to anything. It's committee after committee and sitting around talking about investigating this and raising awareness of that, and nothing ever happens. And when I was doing my research on this, I read minutes of council meetings on these issues, and it's always the same. It's always long-term prevention, community issues, and the criminal law never seemed to be mentioned. And you have an underage girl with DNA in her underwear, and she's saying she was raped. So you have witness DNA and the fact that she's underage, and the CPS decide not to prosecute. I mean, I'm not a criminal lawyer, but that looks pretty much like a strong case to put to a jury. And the CPS has
to be
made to explain why they're not doing this. This is shocking.
Yeah. You're talking about Kelly in Sunderland there.
No, I'm talking about. I'm actually talking about the girl from Three Girls on that occasion, but it's similar to Chelsea as well. Yeah, and there's been other similar cases where they have DNA evidence and her testimony, and she's underage. Regardless of even if you do deem her testimony unreliable, she's underage. A criminal offence has been committed regardless. It's quite shocking from the police and the CPS, and they have to start answering for it. This is a public matter as well. I mean, we don't need to know intimate details that the victims don't want us to know, but we do need to know what we need to know, which is details of the extent of this crime, how they do it. Our daughters need to be told, girls in school need to be told, and there must be, when girls report these things, swift action to take these men off the street. That has to happen. We don't need any more committee meetings. We need something done about it now. And Three Girls really is a complete lack of action.
Yeah, some people are saying they want to see Three Girls shown in every school. I say before they do that, we need to have the grown-up debate about why this is happening. And we need, as you're now saying, more prosecutions, and we also need to find out why the establishment are reluctant to do what the public would seem to want. I think if they just put it into schools, it'll be kind of a smokescreen.
Well,
it'll act as if they're doing something.
It's one thing to do. I mean, I would show, no problem showing it to schoolgirls, along with a lot of other things. Girls should be told about this and know where to go when this happens, and something will be done. Girls won't go if nothing is done. So there has to be action on this. Of course, we have to have the discussion about why these men feel this way about white women, and you know why I think partly and largely because the religion teaches contempt for women, and particularly for non-Muslim women. This is, of course, this influences large, not all, but large numbers of these men and their attitudes towards white girls. And they consider these to be 14, 15. They consider them to be women, and hold them in the required contempt by their culture and by how they're raised.
But Anne-Marie, who's going to lead that debate? How will that actually happen? Because we've now had this drama documentary. By the end of tonight, we'll have had that on for 3 days. We've had all these cases, and there's still cases going through the courts. We've had all the furore about Tommy Robinson going and confronting these people, then getting rammed off the motorway as well. So it's a really hot potato. Austria just banning the burqa as well. But who's going to lead it in this country? Or are we going to be sitting here in a year's time still saying, well, we can't really talk about it? And if we
I've got no idea. It's certainly not going to be any of the current political leaders. That's for sure. There needs to be a shift. There needs to be a change. It's not going to be. It's not. They'll talk about it, but they won't talk about it and address the elephant in the room. Under no circumstances will they. The only way we'll get that addressed is to change the politicians, change a great number of them. It's the only way.
I think you're right. It's sad and it's depressing, and it's also sad and depressing you weren't given the chance to stand for UKIP. But once
you didn't frankly have the balls to put country before party.